Hi. If you're looking for a little whitewater river in the wilderness to do, I've got a great one for you. It's the Nepisiguit River in New Brunswick, Canada. It runs over 150 kilometers from near Mount Carleton Provincial Park, Mount Carleton being New Brunswick's highest peak in the foothills of the Appalachians. And it runs east and then northeast to the town of Bathurst, New Brunswick, which is right on the Bay de Chaleur, so in salt water there at Nepisiguit Bay. It's a great river. It's arguably New Brunswick's best whitewater river, even better than the St. Croix or better than the Kedgwick Restigouche. And it is, 3-day trip. You could do it faster. You could also add a day of flat water on to the beginning to make it sort of 4 days if you wanted to. That would be very leisurely. But it's a great trip and it's very well mapped. So here, let me show you what I mean. So the Nepisiguit River is a spring run. This footage was taken in May of the year. The water levels were excellent. The river was moving at a good pace. We had to eddy out even to get to our campsites and so on, but extremely manageable. There are some swifts and Class 1 rapids and also some Class 2 rapids. Then there are two Class 3 rapids, one at Indian Falls and one at the Narrows. And there's very well marked campsites that have privies on them. You don't have to book them. You don't have to pay anything to go there. Although registered hikers do get preference, so you might show up at a campsite and have to bushwhack or keep moving. So, like I said, we had done this trip in May, but we had checked before to see how the water levels were. We also made sure we weren't the first ones down the river. Another group had gone ahead of us and cleared out some of the sweepers, which sort of gave us some reassurance. Though, as you can see here, the river is very manageable. So there's an absolutely fantastic map that you can get for the Mi'kmaq Trail from this website here, migmactrail.ca. The spelling of Mi'kmaq appears differently in different sources, but this is the website for it. Absolutely great. It's got some excellent resources there and so forth. I invite you to check it out. It also has an interactive map if you like that. But at the Hiking New Brunswick website, which is also a great resource of all sorts of things, you can get the ultimate map. This map right here is an absolute must for doing the trip. It's $20. You can get it mailed to you from the website. But as you can see in here, got very detailed indications of the rapids, the portages, and the campsites, as well as the entry points and exit points. And if you take a look on that map, you'll see that you have the option of putting in at sort of the Bathurst Lakes area. That's a long drive around Mount Carleton Provincial Park to get to it. So we opted instead to go to Popple Depot, which is you lose a day of lakes and a little bit of river, but it's much easier to drive in. It's about an hour and a half from Bathurst, from your takeout point, rather than over 2 hours. And right at Popple Depot, there's a bridge. Right around that bridge, there is a campsite, so you can tent there, no problem, no fee, no reservations. But if, like us, you want to start off the trip in a little more luxury, there's also this Governor's Wilderness Resort. It sounds fancier than it is, but it's a great place that you can go, and you can just give them a call and reserve a chalet there. They've also got plenty of space for camping if that's what you want to do. In terms of arranging a shuttle, so there's plenty of hikers that do the Mi'kmaq Trail. I've found that based on my research, the way that they identify shuttle drivers is actually through this Facebook group, the Sentier Nepisiguit Mi'kmaq Trail group right here. So you can basically join that Facebook group, and then basically in the discussion, you just post that you're looking for a shuttle, and they will They will hook you up with somebody. It worked really well for us. We were identified with a person who drove us very expertly, and at our request, she was upfront about how much it was going to cost, and it was really reasonable. So we went for it. Also, if you're interested, because it's a spring run, you'll want to inquire about the conditions of the river, making sure that the water levels aren't too high, that you're not in freshet, but it's sort of not too low to be bony. We went in mid-May. Conditions were excellent. But this is a good forum for getting that kind of information and just sort of asking the river conditions. In fact, in our case, someone had said that they were doing the river the week before us. They were going to clear the sweepers, and they sort of confirmed, which was amazing. Also, we kept track of the spring cleanup of the trail network. The trail network is very extensive. Of course, like preference is given to hikers on the trail, especially registered hikers. So if they're at your campsite, you're sort of out of luck. When we went, we didn't see a single hiker. We didn't see a single other canoer. So there was no problem at all. There was no competition for any resources or anything like that. So it was absolutely fantastic. Then we stayed in Bathurst after the trip. There's great hotels, some great restaurants. So it's a nice town to stay in. So that was cool. And if you're looking for more information, there's some great videos. This one is a Northern Scavenger. He's got a great video on what he calls canoeing the wildest river in New Brunswick. It's very informative, so I encourage you to check that out. I also found a great video here by Rino Daigle, which was also an excellent overview of the river. So here's the interactive map here. So as I said, here's Mount Carlton Provincial Park here. The river flows east and then northeast, sort of north, up to Bathurst. You can put in at these Bathurst lakes here, as I mentioned. There would be some portaging between these lakes, as well as some river travel. So that's cool. But it might be hard to tell from this map. There's not great road access here. So it's actually at Popple Depot that I would, recommend you put in if you want to do the 3-day trip. That's what we did. You're right on the river then. And then as you go down, you can see the campsites and so on. This is the hiker's map. So a lot of these things are here for the hiker's benefit. But you basically get through to the Narrows. And then at Nepisiguit Falls here, there is a dam. The portage around the dam is like 5 kilometers. So we left a vehicle at Nepisiguit Falls with the idea of portaging with the vehicle around, which was a great plan. Although my buddy forgot his truck keys, so it never happened for us. So we actually ended up taking out here, which was a fine trip. But the whitewater enthusiasts will say that some of the best whitewater sections are actually below Nepisiguit Falls, and then all the way down to the pump house, which is where you would take out for that. So that whitewater was marked on the map. There are a couple of class 5 sections, so mandatory portages for canoers, but also some pretty churlish whitewater for those that are interested. So as I mentioned, that would make it a 4-day trip from Popple Depot, leisurely. But we did a 3-day trip from Popple Depot. We loved it, and it was really good trip. So as I said, it's a 3-day trip. There's some whitewater up to class 3, very well marked portages, very well kept campsites, including thunderboxes, like sort of semi-private privies. And it's a really great river to do. So I really encourage you to do it. And if you have any questions, just ask them in the comments, and I'd be happy to get back to you. Hope to see you out there.